Okay, just to give us in the room a little bit of space, how many of you are thinking, like there is a date in your calendar for presenting your research? Like there's a time coming up where you know this is coming, like this is on the way. Well, that's just about everyone. Okay, that's great. For those, for everyone else, how many of you anticipate, okay, pretty soon, at some point, I'm going to have to, it could be defend a thesis, to talk at a research conference, it could be anything. Like I'm planning on communicating something, like it's on the way. I think that was some overlap, and then just about everyone else. So that's great. We all have good incentives and motivations for exploring this together. The purpose really of this exploration today is just to talk about this part where there's something in your brain as a result of the research that you have done, and we want to communicate that with some other brains. And presumably those other brains, because this is a human interaction that we are talking about, are going to communicate something back to you. You are the master of your domain when it comes to your research, your field of study, your expertise. And the focus henceforth in this session is really just looking at communication. The context for what follows will be a research conference. And I realize some people might be presenting in different contexts, but for the sake of our exploration today, I will use the research conference setting for examples and for context. However, communicating in just about any context that involves, getting up in front of people and sharing information, hopefully a lot of this applies, and hopefully if your context is different, you can kind of tweak as appropriate. Our goal. Okay, what is it that we're hoping to get out of this time together? I like to think of this as, very qualitatively speaking, what do you feel like when you go into an environment feeling like you're just going to crush it in terms of sharing and communicating what you need to share and communicate? What does that mean? Let's say we know 5 things. We know who our audience is. We know who we are talking to. Because we know who our audience is, we are able to do some good thinking about why it is that they would trust us. And because we know who they are, and we know why they should trust us, you know what you hope your audience will do as a result of your presentation, of your talk. Because you know who they are, and you know why they should trust you, and you know what you want them to do, then you know what you need to say. And if you know what you need to say, you also, just as importantly, I will argue, know what you can cut. At a big, broad level, I'm going to come back to these questions at the end, these prompts, these kind of frames of reference. To my mind, this will be a worthwhile endeavor if we can circle back to this in a little while and you feel like you have some heightened clarity and perspective on these questions that really directly can frame the way you approach your presentation. We're going to start pretty abstract. Literally in a few minutes, we're going to talk about what humans are. But by the end of this, we're going to work this all the way down. We're going to try to land the plane on very concrete things like what should we put on our slides. And so we're going to take the very, 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 very broad journey from the very abstract to the very concrete. And finally, we're going to frame all of this around 9 propositions. And I love using propositions because they simply invite us to consider assertions, statements, judgments, opinions, and maybe they are not all relevant to you. Maybe they don't all make sense in your context, but maybe they do. And the mental work we get to do together is translate how, if these propositions are relevant to the work that you're planning on doing.